Will there be a new and exciting chapter, or is this the final page in the rise and fall of Michael Jackson? The seeds of Michael Jackson's talent were sown in Gary, Indiana, where he lived with his 8 brothers and sisters in this 2-bedroom house on Jackson Street. His father, Joseph, was a strict disciplinarian, working in the local steel mills, while his mother, Catherine, stayed at home, raising the kids as devout Jehovah's Witnesses. Early on, she discovered that Mike possessed a unique talent.
When Joe would go to work, we'd just sing folk songs or sing together, but I heard him singing in the bedroom, singing one of the Temptation songs. It was so beautiful.
Determined to utilize that talent, Joe organized a family musical group around his eldest sons. And impressed with what he saw, he threw himself into managing the boys' careers.
Because he was so young and so talented, it immediately created a kind of freak that is at the heart of his story. Where's that voice coming from? Where are those movements coming from? You know, what kind of prodigy is this?
When I see him perform, I see Jackie Wilson, I see James Brown, I see Fred Astaire in him.
He's one of the few rock and roll singers that can really sing.
The group caught the ear of Motown's Berry Gordy, who signed them to the label in 1968. Just 1 year later, they'd got the break they'd been waiting for. Their debut single, I Want You Back, went to #1 in the US charts.
First time I saw the Jackson 5 on television, I said, wow, it's a boy. Talk about Michael. I mean, because when I first heard the song, I thought he was a little girl. And they're kids. Whoa.
It's pretty amazing. And if you think about, like, the young Michael Jackson, how do young guys like that have so much soul? I was still trying to figure out which shoe went on which foot.
I just was in love with Michael Jackson. I was ready to marry him.
As the 13-year-old frontman, Michael was clearly the star of the group. By 1971, a parallel solo career was launched, and the teenage singer claimed his first US #1, as well as an Oscar nomination for the title song from the movie Ben.
Michael was probably raised in a context feeling that he had to constantly prove himself to his dad, prove himself to the bosses of the different record companies, and to have that type of validation from the top of your field would have made him felt that I have arrived.
But success couldn't stop him growing into an awkward teenager with problem acne, and constant teasing from his father and brothers began to chip away at the shy and self-conscious adolescent.
I actually saw the brothers sort of ribbing him about his nose, and they used to call him Big Nose.
These people were his world. So in effect, his whole world was saying, you don't look good enough, you don't look the way that you should look. And that would have had serious implications for not only how he saw himself, but how then he goes on to relate to people later on in life.
14-year-old Mike's grueling work schedule meant his chance to socialize with children his own age was taken away. It would have a lasting effect.
I used to be very long, painful.
As a child who was such a success and so different, I think, from the rest of his peer group, it had to have been difficult to connect with other people.
I know it's hard for a kid, I know, but I can't believe every moment was bad.
Leaving Motown in 1976, the brothers signed to Epic Records and shortened their name to the Jacksons. Putting Teen Pop behind them, they hit the dance floor and successfully rode the disco wave.
Don't blame it on the sunshine, don't blame it on the moonlight.
That one in particular had that kind of 70s feel to it. The production of that song was brilliant.
When Michael turned 19, he landed a starring role in the film musical The Wiz alongside Diana Ross. It was here he met producer Quincy Jones for the first time.
During The Wiz, I got to know him pretty well. I don't know how to define what it is, what makes it work, but whatever that thing is, it clicks.
He had a new father figure, been around the block around this industry, and finally he meets this guy, Michael Jackson, who he's probably always wanted to work with, and just says, this is what we're going to do, we're going to kill it. He doesn't need his brothers. This guy is a complete star.
In 1979, this unique partnership created a landmark album and instant classic. Off the Wall sold over 7 million copies and established Michael as an adult solo star.
Because he was with his brothers for so long, I think everyone wanted him or expected him to not do so well. He was something that proved that you can go solo from a group and do good.
This is one of those CDs that you can put on and whatever kind of mood you're in, it lifts you, makes you happy. Just real classic really, every single song.
And that was the first one that I understood as being, you know, of artistic merit.
For a white world, that was an incredibly black record, and it did definitely, you know, begin the change, if you like.
Off the Wall, Michael Jackson.
With Off the Wall riding high in the charts, a 21-year-old Michael Jackson took the 1980 American Music Awards by storm, picking up 3 trophies, the first of many to come.
This is wonderful.
I think they took something that was quite difficult at the time in disco music and the disco era and managed to make a global selling record mean something but really popular. It was the emergence of a real superstar as well. It ticked so many boxes at the same time, and I absolutely loved the album. I mean, I used to hold that record like, this is so good.
Few would have expected a follow-up album to match the success of Off the Wall, but the ever-ambitious Michael and Quincy Jones had other ideas. Michael Jackson made history in 1982 when he released Thriller, a record that spawned an unprecedented 7 top 10 singles. It would become the best-selling album ever.
I've always wanted to see an artist like Michael attain that stature too, because it's never happened to a black artist before.
Thriller was the most expensive video of its time, with production costs totaling